Right, thank you, Kevin. There's no other board reports. Student council, which student council have to be on Zoom? I think they'll be here next week. Student council? If not, next week we'll catch up to you. Moving on to public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone not in the room wish to have a public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? No. Does anyone want to have public comment on agenda items only?
Nope. Does anybody want to say hi?
On agenda items?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Go ahead, you can give us your name, address, and the agenda item number you're referring to, and then you have 3 minutes.
Okay, it's Julia Knitsky, 2006 Maxwell Lane, Mars. I just wasn't sure if this was on the agenda when it said policies. Are you guys, the policies that were up for review, for public review, are those on the agenda to be discussed this evening?
There's
or, audio video recording policy 810.2 and student records 216.
They're still up for review. They're not going to be on the agenda this evening.
Okay, then I guess I won't talk about them.
Okay.
Okay.
If you have a question, might as well have
Oh, I do have a question.
When will we get to the second part?
The second part, perfect.
All right, Zoom later.
Zoom later.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to have public comment on agenda item? Anyone on Zoom wish to have a public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next week we'll look to approve the minutes. This week, can I have a motion for on the main agenda for personnel number 1?
Kevin, so moved. Justin, second.
Have a first and a second. Board comments, questions? Have a roll call, please.
Ms. Renner? Yes. Ms. Turner? Yes. Ms. Wick? Yes. Fugio? Yes. Mr. DePredis?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Lenz?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
That is 8 yes and 1 no.
Moving on to main agenda under personnel numbers 2 through 17. Can I have a first and a second? Or discussion, comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
So that passes. So next week we'll consider finances, numbers 1 through 17, and programs 1 through 2, and others 1 through 2 in the main agenda. Moving on to our main agenda here, we're back to public comment. This will be open forum. Anyone in the room that wishes to have public comment? Yep.
Yeah.
You came late. Came late to the party, but you're here.
Music.
Seeing no one in the room, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to have a public comment at this point? Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to have a public comment at this point?
Hello, guys.
Your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Julia Knitsky, 2006 Maxwell Mars. I had questions that I'd like you to consider for policy number 810.2 and number 216 that are up for review. I guess I'm kind of curious what prompted these policies to make light because of the audio-visual recordings. I was just kind of curious why in policy number 216, why the AV recordings were moved to category C, listed on that. Possibly it may be because under category C, most of those items are only kept for maybe a year and then they're, expunged or whatever from the record. But these are all typically things that need a court order to get. And under FERPA, which is the federal law, the bus videos are protected under FERPA as public review, and parents are able to access those under review. So with moving this to category C, this, the policy, you guys added it in 810.2, but now you moved it to category C. That makes it extremely hard for parents. It kind of deters them. And actually, it's not really legal to have them like pretty much seek a lawyer to go into category C to obtain the records that are their public record. There's in Pennsylvania that talk about photos, videos are public records in Pennsylvania for any parent to review. And then when you're doing that, if it doesn't pertain to the student that's in question, not just for disciplinary, but even for special ed, images of the students have to be blurred out that don't pertain to your particular child. And I just wanted to also remind everybody too that a lot of this focused on discipline in the policy 16, but there are children like mine that have related services that are transportation. So his IEP literally starts from my driveway to driveway when he comes home. So you're really like double whammying a parent who has the right to review their kid's record. So I just had like kind of questions on all that, like why this came about and why it was moved to category C. And I think this needs really considered before we, like legally it needs looked at before you vote on something like this. That makes sense?
Yeah. Your 3 minutes is up. Public comments typically not question and answer, so you do have the ability to go on to where the policies are posted and ask questions there and comments there. So that would be a start. We don't have an answer this evening.
Then we'll take a look. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Yeah.
Right. So thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to have a public comment at this point? Is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to have public comment at this point? Seeing none, I'll go back to the room. No public comment?
Julia, raised her hand.
Okay. So see no other public comment. Julie, you can have another 3 minutes.
Hi. Okay. Thank you. I just want to thank you for looking into that before you guys vote on that. And since now we're at public comment.
Yeah, I just need an address before you start again.
Oh, Julia Knitsky, 2006, Maxwell Lane, Mars. I have a comment on Reading Rockets. We received an email on a Friday evening before it was going to start that following Monday that it abruptly was not going to happen in the elementary school. And it said in the email, based on staff, which is fine, I get it, that I was wondering if those 80 children who were receiving that multi-tiered intervention, if we were going to continue it maybe for the next 9 weeks, or if you could have outsourced some staff. Does it have to be, does our ESSER funds have to be used with our teachers only, or could we have, and maybe you just didn't have time, could we have hired, outside helpers? Because I had heard from multiple people, and I don't know if they were doing data collection, that Reading Rockets is really doing a great thing for those children that were enrolled. I would imagine a lot of them were enrolled because they did have true learning loss from COVID and general beyond the 20% blanketed Department of Ed. They put a 20% learning loss that was measurable, but only with IE students for COVID comp ed. But I would imagine that, you know, there was kids with that weren't measured in regular ed that had a lot of learning loss. And I just was wondering, you know, where do we, you know, do we have a year to use these funds, or is this going to happen next year or next 9 weeks? Because now then some of the children like mine are going to be moving up to Centennial next year, and I'm hoping that he could continue his Reading Rockets at elementary with his teachers this year. So I just was wondering why it abruptly ended. Did we collect data on any of this, the effects of that, and if we can outsource if we can't get our teachers to do it?
Julia, you raised good points, and for the many reasons you've stated, we want to continue to try to actively recruit. We will start it the second we can find enough staff to do that. We're brainstorming different ways to try to get that staffing in place so that we can launch that program again. So we're on the same page with that. We think it's very important. We think the rationale behind that is very good, and we think the program itself, teachers did a phenomenal job with those kids. So we're going to try to continue to actively recruit, whether that be internal or external. So we're still working on that.
Good. Okay, so you can do external possibly. I wasn't sure if there was a limit with ESSER funds, like if you had to use your own staff or whatever. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Guess I'll try one more time for Zoom, even though she doubled up on me. It gives people an opportunity now.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on Zoom who wish to have a public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. MAEA, is there a representative from association this evening?
It doesn't look like it.
Is there any representative for the association this evening? All right, we'll move on to administration. Dr. Gross.
Well, speaking of MAEA, next week you're going to see that we're recommending a calendar for 22-23 to be adopted. I want to thank Joe Graff for representing the MAEA. He met with us and shared some thoughts and ideas that not only beneficial for the whole, but also for the students. And also we special thanks to Mr. Late. He also provided some input into that calendar. So we think that this calendar that's presented and up for vote next week, we think it represents a really nice calendar that takes in the interval. I just wanted to thank the association and the administrators who helped put that together. But I don't have anything else. As far as Reading Rockets, yes, anyone who has their children involved in Reading Rockets, we want to get that program up and running as soon as we possibly can. It's definitely due to lack of staff, but we're going to try to line as much area as we can to try to get staff in place as soon as possible.
There's only one school that's not having it. It's still, we're running the program.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Clear.
It's just the elementary. Yeah. So some of the staff that volunteered at the elementary, we've temporarily moved them into the PC so we can utilize those teachers' talents. Very good teachers, and we're going to hope to continue to recruit. We've even tried to through the recruitment process, we even tried to move days. And I know Mr. Late, he was probably tired of hearing us say, well, try this day, but we just weren't able to get the staff in there. So now we're going to look outside of our traditional sense of looking internally and see if we can be creative and get something off the ground using external sources.
Good.
Thank you, Dr. Gross. Dr. McMahon?
We had our in-service day schedule kind of mapped out. However, due to inclement weather, we had to shut that day down. But our presenters and our textbook reps have been just phenomenal. Just here was your schedule, we're moving into February. And the big thing that I was kind of concerned about was getting Dr. Braymore here. So we've got her locked in again for February, which can take everything that we have mapped out and planned out, and we can move that into our February day, which means that we got to work kind of bust and move now when it comes to our textbook selection, because we got to get the budget in for Debbie because Debbie's like, okay, let me have that, like, we'll get it, so tight with me, but, yeah, so everything that we had scheduled, just know that we're gonna send it out again, so you're gonna have a copy of it, but it's basically, it tweaked it a little bit, just based on the date was an 8 o'clock day, now it's considered an 8:30 day, so it's minimally shifting, but I'm happy to say that all of our presenters and all of us are able to.
And that's probably the most crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need the teachers that are gonna be utilizing it to give their input and, sort of endorse whatever direction we go in, so.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. Ms. Branstetter?
I just wanted to mention, under finance number 14, regarding us, short accessible van. Just want to give you an update. Myers is looking at 2 other vehicles that are newer. One is the 2019 wheelchair equipped vehicle that actually can fit a wheelchair, 2 students plus an adult and driver. That would be ideal. I think this is 2019. Also looking at 2014 one that I mentioned. They can't release that one. That's ABC Transit, and they are waiting on delivery of a new van that they have. That's gonna, so if that doesn't get delivered this week, then they would not have that one available either. So we have a couple, things working out. Hopefully we'll have the answer by Friday. How we're gonna move forward with that. And again, this is just in the interim basis until they can get their new vehicle delivered, hopefully January of next year. That's all I have.
And just a reminder, we have our finance meeting at 6 o'clock next week. Anybody who's on, still listening, that's open to the public. So we'll have the finance meeting 6 next week, followed by the board meeting. We will have Regina Tyler from the Butler County Area Vocational Technical School. You'll see on there, they're asking for approval of the budget. So she'll be here to do a presentation at the beginning of that formal board meeting. To answer any questions you may have about that budget.
Perfect. Is there, I guess, any administrators on Zoom? I never think of that.
it's your latest one.
Is there anyone on Zoom, administration-wise, that would like to speak? I just never look up at Zoom, I guess. Seeing that, we'll move on to board comments. I'm starting on this side tonight. Is there any board comments on this side? Oh yeah, Megan, if you want to start, we'll start with Megan. She may have to do something. Megan?
I don't have anything to say tonight.
What? Thank you, Megan. That was quick and sweet. Anyone in this side of the room? Quiet.
Our new board member training on Saturday. Changed my Saturday. It was the presentation of the AI news. It was done very well done. About 20 in the room, and I don't know how many online.
There were,
90?
in the afternoon, it was 77.
And then several more joined when
I think you're right, there was something.
it was a reinforcing things that I learned.
It's good to get a refresher.
Yes, it is. And good reminders about where you should go.
Yeah, we should be doing that. This side of the room?
I want to really quiet.
Perfect. All right, so we do have a finance meeting next week and our public meeting, both which will be live and Zoom. So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So,
Kevin, and then Nicole. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Have a great evening.